One thing that's different about the week one games than the rest of the college football season, of course, is that for the remainder of the college football season, number one, we've seen these teams play at least one game. So after today or after this weekend, we will have seen everybody play, of course, at least once, and then we've got something to go on for the rest of the season. Number two, for the rest of the season, we will only have 1 week. And if there's a bye week, 2 weeks for any particular team, we'll have just that period of time to either underrate, overrate, overhype, disregard, disrespect any particular team. But what we've got in week one of the college football season, of course, is we've got a situation where for this entire offseason, going all the way back to the second week of January, we have had all this hype, all this buildup, a lot of week one matchups that we've been looking forward to for so long. And now we get the reality. Now we get the reality after all this speculation, just ridiculous amounts of speculation in terms of who's good, who's not good, who can do what. We get this. And so that's what's fascinating about week one of college football is we've been talking about this since mid-January. It is September. We're looking at almost 8 months of speculation and hype about these teams. And now we get the reality. So just think about any of your particular matchups of interest this weekend. Think about Alabama-Miami. Think about Iowa-Indiana or Texas-Louisiana or the Penn State-Wisconsin game or Ohio State-Minnesota on Thursday night or North Carolina-Virginia Tech. And just think about how you viewed that game and what you expected from particular players, what you expected from an offense or a defense, what you expected from those particular teams based on what they showed us last year, what they typically show us, what the additions have been through recruiting, what the subtractions have been through the NFL draft. And just think about what you expected versus what did we see today. Let's get to the scores. Right here at the Voice of College Football, we're going to take it right up to the Clemson-Georgia kickoff. So much looking forward to that one. And that one topping the list in regards to speculation, importance for a college football playoff appearance, most likely. So Clemson-Georgia, we're going to take it all the way up to kickoff. The last game that's really had my attention because a couple of the 3:30 Eastern time games disappointed. I've been splitting time between West Virginia, Maryland, really good game, and also this Louisiana-Texas game. So I've been going back and forth, but Texas has scored here. Hudson Card carrying it in, looking good. Hudson Card in winning that competition over Casey Thompson, and Texas leads 28-12. And then, of course, this Miami-Alabama game has been a disaster, and Iowa has, surprisingly for most of us, dealt with Indiana with tremendous defense. All right, I got a few people on the line here. Sorry for not the forewarning here. I should have sent that out, and I failed to do so. It's been a busy day here at the Voice of College Football, coordinating all these live shows, and hopefully you have taken part. We have already gone live. With Michigan post-game, Nebraska post-game, Penn State post-game, Oklahoma, and soon to be coming here would be the Miami post-game and also the Iowa post-game. And that reminds me that I'm going to have to be close to my phone to make sure that I give certain a number of our hosts codes that they will need to set up their post-game shows. So just want to make sure that I am looking out for all of that. And of course, not taking any calls right now, but I'm going to late night tonight. So here's the setup tonight. And I know I'm only talking to about 12 people, but here's the setup tonight that, we're going to take it right to the Clemson-Georgia kickoff. So I may need some heads up on that because right now I've got Fox on with Texas-Louisiana, and that one's being salted away by the Longhorns up 16. So if Louisiana does not get a stop here, certainly need to grab the remote here. West Virginia, Maryland, again, has been a game that I've had my eyes on. I ran a poll on Twitter this afternoon. This was right around kickoff at noon to say, hey, what game do you want to see played above any other game today? I don't know how that poll came out. My number one choice was Clemson, Georgia. Number 2 was Indiana, Iowa. I thought that was going to be a tremendous game. It is not. 31-6 last I saw. We're going to get to the scores in just a second. Some very intriguing scores that are still close with some big teams possibly being upset. And that was my number 2 game. My number 3 game, Penn State, Wisconsin. My number 4 game, LSU, UCLA. Number 5 was this Texas-Louisiana game that I've seen quite a bit of. And then number 6 was Miami and Alabama. All right. Your comments are coming in. Let's check out and see what you guys have. Appreciate everybody being here, of course, at the Voice of College Football. Lucas Abner, did Indiana know that they were playing football today? It's been on the schedule for quite some time. It's been on the schedule. At least the kickoff has been on the schedule for a good 6 or 7 months, exactly when they were playing. Probably thought, hey, this is Indiana, Iowa, 2 top 25 teams in the Big Ten opener. Man, this should be on like a bigger network, Big Ten network. So IU probably checked out once they saw that it's being carried by the Big Ten network. Montre, good to see you right here at the Voice of College Football. And again, I would point everybody to your particular post-game shows that we aired earlier today: Penn State, Michigan, Nebraska, Oklahoma. So check those out. And I'm going to give you the full lineup for tonight as well. Montre says Miami's back. And there's no question about that. Miami is surely back. Then we've got, not to disregard Lucas and Montre, I like to post as many of these comments to the screen because you guys are good about being here and contributing here. It's just me, Tim, 79. Bryson is really, really good. Yeah, he is. He is a smooth and cool customer. He is. He is. I've been mighty impressed with him. I've been mighty impressed. Now, I did check out at 27-0. I was not going to be watching, and I made that statement a number of times during the offseason that Miami and Alabama would be, well, it turned out that it was my second, what I consider to be the second most interesting game at 3:30. Indiana, Iowa, for me, was a much more important game because I didn't know who was going to win the game, and also because it's a conference game, so it's more important. So I had Indiana, Iowa here on the big screen, and then I had Bama and Miami on the side screen. But certainly Bama and Miami left. They got pushed off once it was 27-0 for me. I saw 27-3. I did see the last drive, the last Miami drive of the first half that ended the first half. They were actually fortunate to get the 3 points on the board with the phantom pass interference call on Daniel Wright on Keyshawn Smith, I believe, ran that pattern. I believe, no, that was Charleston Rambo. They went deep to Charleston Rambo, and he basically fell down. Anyway, the PI set up Miami with a 1 score to make it 27-3 at that point. Bama quickly came out of the second half, and boom, boom, 2 touchdowns. It's just me, Tim, 79. Michigan State with a big win on the road against Northwestern, looking much better in that week 1 game against Northwestern. They controlled the game. There was little doubt once they streaked out to that 14-0 lead that Michigan State was the better team right there. Late Sip says, I see a culture problem trend with Miami. Every big game, they look unprepared and undisciplined. I can't really speak to culture going outside of the football program. And the reason I state it that way is because obviously Manny Diaz, this is just his 3rd season. He's coached 2 seasons And when you talk about big games, well, any game you lose suddenly becomes a big game. So if you're Miami and you're playing FIU, is that a big game? No, it's not a big game. Well, once you lose the game, then that was a big game. All right, so the big games for Miami this season look to be Alabama, North Carolina, and kind of that's it. Now, they could possibly get challenged, especially based on what we've seen this weekend against Virginia Tech or Virginia or somebody else, Pitt, and then suddenly that becomes a big game. So in Manny Diaz's first season, again, they lost 7 games. So I don't know what a big game was for a team that went 6-7. Last season, the North Carolina game was a big game. They got trounced. The Clemson game was a big game. They got trounced. Oklahoma State, a bowl game. I consider that a big game. They lost. They had personnel out. Oklahoma State did as well. So for that small sample size, correct. Going back into the Mark Richt era, and therefore that's where I have an issue with the culture statement, because the head coach is responsible ultimately for the culture. And we could sit here and discuss what does culture mean, but I think all of us have a fairly decent grasp on what that is. And so Mark Richt's teams did not play well in an ACC championship game, in an opener against a really good LSU team, against Wisconsin in the Orange Bowl. So, yeah, they had their letdowns as well. All right. Lucas says Michigan State is not for real. Northwestern just isn't very good. Well, I would agree with that statement. I don't know, when people say somebody's for real or they're not for real, I don't know what that means. I have to actually have that placed in context for me. It depends what you're expecting from that team. When we're talking the really elite teams, and a lot of people are just putting that in the context of a college football playoff, and they say somebody's not for real, they mean they're not going to go to the playoff. But for Michigan State, I'm thinking, are they for real? Or are they going to go to a bowl game this year? Are they good enough to get to a bowl game? I didn't think so preseason. I thought that they had a bad quarterback situation in Michigan State, but Peyton Thorne played well. They found a good running back at Wake Forest and Kenneth Walker, who tore Northwestern to shreds. Let's not go too crazy on Michigan State. Yeah, Indiana getting crushed. Tyler, Mississippi State down 17. I flipped the game on. I had that on like a third set, but didn't really pay too much attention to it. They were down 21-14 at half. They were actually up 14-0. So Mississippi State has been outscored 31 points by Louisiana Tech. Lucas, unless tonight's game is good and competitive, I don't think anyone is beating Bama this year. Gruen is wondering about Cam right now, probably crying somewhere. Always love those comments. Anyway, Cheryl, good to see you as always. Buckeyes 1-0. And Oregon, what about those Oregon Ducks? Let's get to the scores right now, because Oregon's going to factor prominently into our little discussion here. And again, we're going to take it up to Georgia and Clemson. And so what's going on here tonight is right after Georgia-Clemson's over, we will be right here for Georgia-Clemson post, okay? And then we're going to do that for about an hour. We're going to focus on Georgia-Clemson. Because I don't have anywhere to put that Georgia post game, because our SEC channel is loaded tonight with an SEC show, Texas A&M post, Florida post. So we're going to do the Georgia Clemson post right here for about an hour, right at the conclusion of the game. Then we're going to switch right into a different stream with LSU and UCLA post right here for about an hour, and then we'll switch it into our call-in show late night, and it's going to be late night. So if we don't have a good following here at whatever time that's going to be, like 1 o'clock in the morning, we'll see how that goes. Richard, good to see you there. Lucas, Alabama's defense is, yeah. They had given up 56 total yards at halftime. They were everywhere. The defensive line for Bama just completely dismantled Miami. Iowa State better look out next week. Well, let's not. That is correct, Richard. But let's also not give too much value to week one performances. We tend to do that, whether that be college football or the NFL. Something happens big in week one. Sure, that team showed us something, but we tend to completely damn the teams that lose and then praise and just consider world beaters to be the teams that won big games in week one. Yeah, that's an indication. It's one game, but we'll see. Groon is saying, let's see how good Georgia and Clemson look today. Clemson by 10. Eddie's here. All right. Who were you Canes fans delusional enough to think we were going to win? Yeah, I certainly did not. I had Bama covering. I said 42-17, so maybe I underregarded Bama a little. Well, the final said 44-13, so 42-17, I guess I was right there pretty well. It's just me. Tim 79 says Clemson 3.5, minus 2.5. I'm not touching that with a 6-foot pole. The last I saw, the line was at 3.5, and that's what I picked it against. That was my selection. Was it's on Patreon. We're off to a pretty good start here, although Louisiana in 8 is in trouble right now. Luke the Depressed Tar Heel. Yeah, it was a bummer. We're just going to pretend like last night did not happen. What happened last night? Nothing significant. Didn't Duke and Charlotte play last night? Was that the game last night? Isaac says Oregon did not scare me today. So that's either Isaac, the Oregon fan, saying I wasn't scared, or that's Isaac, an Ohio State fan, saying Oregon did not scare me. Because, of course, the Ohio State fans, some of them, and some of the Oregon fans were lifted up by Ohio State's lack of performance on Thursday night, if that's the way you saw the game. Bama lost a lot to injuries today. I watched, again, I was watching all sorts of games, so maybe I missed some injuries on the Bama side today. I did not see anything in the second half. I was done. The Rod Farva, good to see you. And again, let's get to the scores here. McNeely Studies TV. How is the TV studying business? Miami needs to change the coaching staff now. Don't wait. Make Rhett Lashley the interim coach. Wrong players in the game. Chaney needs to start. Cam Harris needs to sit the bench or call better plays. So the guys the guy that's not calling the right plays should now be the interim coach. So Rhett Lashley's not calling the right plays on offense, if I get this straight, but he should be the interim coach. Again, let's not go crazy on one game. Miami's not in Alabama's league. I think most of us saw that coming. Nothing about that game surprised me. I just thought it was going to be a little bit more of a slow burn instead of just coming out and going, bam. But, again, didn't surprise me. Louisiana scores is 35-18. I don't know if they went for 2. Lucas Thibodeau. Yes, Kayvon Thibodeau. injured early in the game. He came out. He was a beast, made a couple big plays. We'll see his status, but he was in a walking boot on the sideline. Might be a factor for next week's game. Well, it will be a factor if he's not healthy. Luke says, after sleeping on it, some positives to take away from last night's game, meaning Virginia Tech and North Carolina for his heels. A lot of negative. Yeah, negative offensive line, playmakers on the outside that didn't make plays, and I believe the running backs are a downgrade from last season. Most of what I saw negative was offense in those three departments, although North Carolina's defense, they didn't give up many points, but I think Virginia Tech took their foot off the gas in the second half and really played conservatively. McNeely, if you see the same thing from last year, then what more is there to see? We are Penn State 76. Got to be feeling good. That was a really good game, the Penn State-Wisconsin game. Loved that game. That's been our best game of the day among the big teams. This has to be so discouraging for Miami. They already have trouble getting the top-tier recruits in Florida. Most young kids watching this still want no part of a program like that. Damn Miami. They're doing pretty well in recruiting, but case in point, your point makes sense. If you're a 5-star, high 4-star, and you can go anywhere, unless you have a certain attachment to a program or you're going to a particular program because of football and actually for a particular study that's going to draw you to a school that's maybe not at the top of the list, then yeah, why would you go to Miami if you want to win championships and be developed by the best coaches for the NFL? Phil B taking his shots. And why not? Although tomorrow night, we shall see. Notre Dame's only a 7-point favorite. Compete, at least. Well, I think the players competed. I think they did their best. I didn't see them give up, but I only watched the first half. I was not watching any more of that. Isaac is saying the Clemson offensive line about to get dominated by Georgia. I tend to think that too. Nebraska within the win of the day. The performance of the day was certainly in Lincoln. Why people aren't talking about that? 52-7. Who was more dominant than Nebraska? McNeely, Miami will not beat North Carolina so they can forget the ACC title. And maybe Virginia Tech's going to have something to do with that coastal division. Badger and Bournemouth fan, Wisconsin, total choke job, still need a quarterback. Mertz not good. Mertz has only played 5 or 6 games in his career. Well, they played 7 last year, 8 games. So, yeah, Graham Mertz was not good today. Sean Clifford was not good early, played a little bit better late. That was just a defensive-minded game. That was just a tough, that is the hardest hitting game I saw today was Wisconsin and Penn State. I saw the most physical game played in Madison, Wisconsin. Penn State's defense. Exactly, Andrew. There you go. Penn State's defense today. Get used to those guys. Get used to those players. Learn their names. I was certainly getting acquainted with a lot of Penn State defensive backs. Their secondary's phenomenal. McNeely says, De'Ara King is not the answer. Jake Garcia time. We are Penn State 76. I only say my last comment because recruits have short memories. Yeah, the recruits don't care about 1990 or 2000. You're right. They don't care. These recruits that are going in the 2022 class, They're 17 or 18 years old right now. They were born like in 2005. Yeah, they don't care about that. The only talking G5 football, when we get the opportunity, certainly we pay much respect, Tyler Jenkins, to the group of five. We're only taking this to the Georgia Clemson game. We all want to watch Georgia Clemson. Casey Thompson in the game 3 for 4. We all want to see Georgia Clemson. And so we'll kind of take everybody into that game, which kicks off probably in about 15 minutes. So the big efforts for the G5 today, of course, Northern Iowa against Iowa State. This game, Louisiana, Texas, I've got on right now, which Texas is showing to be up to the challenge, and I missed it on this one. I took a shot with Louisiana. Wish that line had not gone from 16.5 when it opened to 8. And then the other G5 games that were big today, of course, San Jose State's playing USC. Last I saw was 13-0. Let's get to the scores here in a second. Knox Kane tells us that Rhett Lashley is garbage. I don't know that he will have trouble getting a job. I don't believe so. That's my point, Luke, about the defense looking good for North Carolina in the second half. I don't know how much that was North Carolina and how much that was Virginia Tech. They got very conservative, starting with the last drive of the first half, where they could have tried to extend 14-0 out more than that, and they just shut it down. Yes, Miami was legitimately a 19-point underdog. That I said the other night that was fair, and I felt very confident taking Bama. And the only thing that concerned me, even when it was 27-3, I thought it's a 24-point game, and we know Bama's miles ahead of Miami in terms of talent and execution and everything, coaching. But they may just Bama's done this many times where they could have crushed a team 70-0 or something like that, and they just kind of let it go, and they got a backdoor cover against them because Nick Saban could care less about that. So I was a bit concerned about that. Oh, we haven't even talked about Oklahoma. Also, I thought was supposed to have an improved defense. Tulane should have won today. That was the game that I kind of checked out on because it wasn't one of my big games at noon. And then I saw 37-14. I was like, I saw 14 all at one point and thought, okay, this could get interesting. Maybe I'll check it out. And then I saw 37-14. And then the next thing I see is 40-35. I flipped to the game. Tulane's got the ball. I saw their quarterback, Michael Pratt, try to get a first down on a 4th and 13 play. And he made the dive, didn't get there. That would have been so interesting to see what would have happened if Pratt would have gotten the first down at midfield and kept the drive going. He came up that short. Jeremiah Powell, Hudson Card. Yes, looking good. Looking good. And Texas is running out the clock. They're up 17, 9 minutes left. Just got a first down with Bijan Robinson. He's not bad either. Oh, we've got a dissenting opinion here. Deshaun McDonald says Miami is fine. Alabama is the greatest coach in college football history and the best players. Yes. Miami is just trying to win the ACC Coastal. What else could have been expected? So I think that brings a little balance to what we're talking about here. I don't know if Miami's fine. I would expect them to compete a little bit better than that. Could they win the Coastal Division? Sure. And that's another reason why I said this the entire offseason. If you heard me say this once, I probably said it a dozen times. And let me check my phone just to make sure we are lined up for our post-game shows because I want to make sure that these guys get their codes. Okay, nobody's asking for one yet. Looks like everybody's okay. Let's check out the Miami channel to see if our guys are doing their post game here. Let's see. And I want to run down the scoreboard. Okay, so right now we've got Iowa, Indiana. If you're interested in that post game, we've got our Iowa, Indiana show, post game show on right now, and they've got a call-in show going. One of the reasons I'm not taking calls right now. They're going to have a longer show. So we've got Iowa, Indiana post game, both on the Iowa channel and the Big Ten channel. So check it out. Would like to see if our Miami show's on yet. I hope so. Heck yeah. 89 on the line. So Miami fans, if you want to check out Miami Post, or Alabama fans, it's on the Miami channel. We've got about 90 watching right now on the Miami channel. Appreciate those guys doing that. Appreciate the super chat that just came in. Let me grab that. We got L. Deuterino Lebowski. L. Deuterino Lebowski. This is the first time that I've seen your handle there. And who do you have? You've got Isaiah Spiller putting a move on somebody. Thank you so much for the contribution. Appreciate that so much. James is saying Miami doesn't play hardly anyone else. True. Light schedule. How about this Miami-Michigan State game in 2 weeks, though? Do you think Miami might get a little bit more attention from Michigan State? Maybe Miami fans, you should think about this Michigan State game a little bit differently than maybe you did during the offseason after what Michigan State showed us. And Northwestern is probably not a good team this year. They kind of go through the cycles. They've been really good 2 of the last 3 years. The one in between, when they did not win the Big Ten West, they went 3-9. So Michigan State probably did not beat a very good team, but still they handled Northwestern on the road. I am looking forward to Miami, Michigan State, and even Miami against App State next week. Big Lebowski, best movie ever. We are Penn State 76. Thank you so much for reminding everyone. Sometimes I get on here and just start talking football because that's what we want to do, but we are running a channel here in which we want to build and grow and expand so we can keep doing it. So please hit the like button. Please share these videos out on social media. Let people know that we're here. When you talk college football with your friends, whether that be in person, over the phone, texting, on social media, let people know that we're here. We're talking college football here every day. We've got post-game shows going on all over the place today. If you noticed that, Michigan, Nebraska, Penn State already in the books, Oklahoma already in the books, of course, Iowa going on right now, as well as Miami. And then later tonight, again, as soon as Georgia Clemson leave the field, we'll be live here with Georgia Clemson. And then we'll do that about an hour. Typically, these team-specific live shows will be on their channels, but we're going Georgia Clemson as soon as the game's over right here. And then we're going to go into LSU and UCLA post, and I'll take your calls late night. Thank you so much for these super chats coming in. Let me grab these. El Deuterino Lebowski. I've been listening to a lot either the past 2 weeks, but work 80-plus hours a week. That's Spiller running over a Florida linebacker. Gig 'em. Texas A&M and Kent State tonight. Kent State scored some points last year. Kent State led the nation, and I know it's a COVID season, and I know, number 2, that Kent State plays in the MAC. They didn't play any non-conference games against the big boys, but they did lead the nation in points per game and yards per game, or were 1-2, something like that. 29.5 points is the point spread, Texas A&M and Kent State. Appreciate that super chat. Thank you so much, El Deuterino. This is the first time I've seen you here at the channel. So unless you've changed your handle, you've been watching a while, apparently. You're appreciative. I appreciate that. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Would love to know who you root for. I guess the Yankees. And we've got a Texas A&M post game show for you tonight on the SEC channel. So please lock it in on that. Texas A&M post game tonight, and also Florida post game tonight on the SEC channel. And let's see, Turan, appreciate that super chat so much, sir. Thank you so much. I think it's how everyone is saying fire Manny, and the Canes are horrible, but let's be realistic, Mark. You can probably count on one hand how many teams can compete with Bama. Yes, you are right. And I was starting to make this point a minute ago, and that's one of the reasons why I said this last week. I've said it probably 10 times during the offseason, that if Miami came out and competed with Bama, and by competing, I meant stayed within 2 scores going into the fourth quarter. Even if the score turned out to be what it is right now, 44-13, but if it was, let's say, 27-13 going into the fourth quarter, and they reasonably competed for 3 quarters plus, I would have come out of that situation thinking Miami's made some strides. Okay. But what we saw today is the very reason I did not want to see Miami play. And I said this to Cam on our Thursday show, that I did not want to see Miami play Alabama, because this isn't really showing me about Miami, because I already knew this. I told him I would have loved to have seen Miami play Texas or Penn State or Iowa State or a lot of teams, because it would have told me so much more about Miami. The games that told me the most about Miami last year was not the Clemson game, because I thought they were going to lose 42-17. I actually think I picked that score. They pretty much showed to be what they were against Clemson, and I already knew that. It was the North Carolina game and it was the Oklahoma State game that I learned the most about Miami. Therefore, that's the type of team I wanted to see them play in week 1. That's why I'm going to be intrigued if Michigan State is improved to see Miami play Michigan State in 2 weeks. And to an extent, App State. Miami should win that game by 3 scores. But App State is a capable team out of the Sun Belt. Jeremiah, hook 'em. Yeah, Texas looks good today, 38-18. The one frustrating thing for me about college football is I can't watch every game. There were so many games today I wanted to watch, and I watched as much as possible. Oh, my goodness. I know who's going to be calling me tonight. Maryland 30, West Virginia 24. That is a final. I know who I'm going to hear from tonight. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to give Mike Loxley a lot of respect tonight. Louisiana hype. Well, Gary, Louisiana could still turn out to be the best team in the Sun Belt. They just played a much more talented team. Just a team that was they're just better than. They didn't get wiped out. They didn't get humiliated. It was kind of a slow burn. They went into the second half, down 14-6? Just not in Texas's league. And they could score here to make it 38-25. Could stay within 2 scores. I see Oregon State has put a touchdown on Purdue. And let's run down the scores real quick. And I find the Oregon situation interesting. Again, Kayvon Thibodeau knocked out of the game on the sideline with a walking boot during the second half. Oregon slips past Fresno State 31-24. Of course, Oregon was scared today. So was Oklahoma. Those are the biggies to note as well. We talked about that. And also that Indiana completely outclassed by an Iowa defense today. And Michael Penix did not look good. Much of it had to do with the pass rush and the Iowa secondary. I think this is one thing that does not get talked about in college football circles. The Iowa secondary should be exceptional this year and has been exceptional for a few years. And we will get to kickoff. If we had a kickoff yet with Clemson and Georgia, let me know. Michael, we've seen this comment from Michael a million times, and you know what? He has every right now to post it a million more times. Let's go Maryland. There. I'm gonna get to this comment from Michael. Let's go Maryland. And his next comment is, let's go Maryland. The Rod Farva, exactly. Penn State and Iowa on defense today. Also, OSU, Buckeye 14, Penn State and Wisconsin both looked bad. That Wisconsin offense, especially Mertz, looked like a high school team. Well, they were playing tremendous defense. Wisconsin's always got a top 5 to 10 defense in the nation. They're exceptional. They're exceptional. So the offenses need to be better at both Wisconsin and Penn State. I'm not saying that's not the case, but let's also keep into consideration they were playing great. Don't want to go there. Great top 10 defenses in the country. I expect Penn State and Wisconsin to show that the rest of the year. Did we get a kickoff with Georgia and Clemson? I just want to see this scoreboard here. What do we got? So in progress right now, Mississippi State is taking the lead on Louisiana Tech, 35-34 with about 3 minutes left. Louisiana Tech's got the ball in Mississippi State territory. Mizzou close over Central Michigan right now, 31-24, minute left in Columbia. Texas 38-18. They've got the game won, 3 minutes left. USC 13, San Jose State 7. They just started the fourth quarter, 13-7 USC. Liberty leads Campbell 20-7 at half. Georgia Southern over Gardner-Webb 20-6 at half. Auburn and Akron Tigers lead 13-0 after the first quarter. How about the South Carolina quarterback situation? We don't have time to get into that, but an SEC team taking a graduate assistant and making him a quarterback, although he did play quarterback last season still. South Carolina leads Eastern Illinois 15-0. Middle Tennessee and Monmouth, no score. Syracuse and Ohio, no score first quarter. Oregon State, like I said, first touchdown on the board in the first quarter against Purdue. Houston leads Texas Tech 7-0. We've got Oklahoma State scoring against Missouri State, end of the first quarter, 6-0. Baylor, Texas State. I put the Baylor Bears on upset alert. They're up 7-3 in the first quarter. Memphis over Nichols 9-7. SMU leads Abilene Christian 7-0. Toledo leads Norfolk State 14-7. And a bunch of other group of 5 games. Georgia Tech's playing NIU. Yes, look at this final. Iowa State escapes Northern Iowa 16-10. I told you to take NIU and the 29 points. Bama beats Miami 44-13. Of course, we'll talk about that throughout the week. Oklahoma slips by Tulane 40-35. Cincinnati, how about the Bearcats 49-14? I hope you got my picks on Patreon today. I hope so. Go to Patreon at 17 cents a day. You get my picks. You get the Steve Merrill lock of the week, which I'll have to check on, and also picks from 20 of your favorite media guests. Go to Patreon, search Mark Rogers TV, lock in there. Oregon, 31-24 over Fresno State. Penn State beats Wisconsin 16-10. Iowa, like we talked about, 34-6 on Indiana. What a game it's going to be. Iowa State next week. Kentucky beats Louisiana Monroe 45-10. BC over Colgate 51-0. Michigan wins. We didn't talk about the Wolverines. 47-14. Rutgers over Temple. That's not a big deal, but 61-14. Greg Schiano can coach. Holy Cross beat UConn 38-28. Kansas State under the radar game at Jerry's World. Nobody really paid much attention to this one, but Kansas State with a big win for them over Stanford 24-7. Army beat Georgia State 43-10. We talked about Nebraska beating the mighty Fordham, whatever they are, 52-7. Arkansas, thought this might be a difficult game under the radar. Arkansas struggled for a long time, put it away with 21 points in the fourth quarter. So they trailed going into the fourth quarter against Rice. Arkansas wins 38-17. Air Force beats Lafayette 35-14. Marshall over Navy 49-7. What's happened in Navy the last 2 years? And there's the Maryland game. They win. Pitt wins over UMass 51-7. Wyoming over Montana State 19-16. And here we go. We got Georgia and Clemson. They've kicked off, haven't they? I would think. Desmond says, was that Stanford game Shaq was complaining about too early of a kick time for them? Shaq was complaining about Stanford and Kansas State not making the connection there. He's an LSU guy. All right, all right, all right. We appreciate everybody being here. Okay, lock it in tonight. Here's the deal. Georgia Clemson come off the field. We'll be here live with Georgia Post. Then we'll kick it into gear after the UCLA LSU game with an hour of LSU Post. I'll take your calls late night right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate everybody being here. Let's watch this Clemson Georgia game. Enjoy it. LSU UCLA, that's going to be a good one as well. And we'll see you late night. I'll get those notifications out. Please join us right here. In the meantime, Miami Post is going on right now live on the Miami channel and Iowa Post on the Big Ten channel and the Iowa channel. So please join them. Corey's manning the Iowa channel. And of course, we got our guys, Jordan and Derek, giving us a Miami Post game. And I can only imagine what it's like over there right now. See you tonight.